I'm Steve Wilkerson, and I'm with Jim Saunders, Executive Editor of the News Service of Florida. Jim, the grand old party isn't having a great party right now at both the national and the state levels. At the national level, there are intense fights among presidential contenders and in the Congress trying to define what this party is among conservatives and moderates, or some call them the establishment wing of the party. And this led last week to the resignation of the Speaker of the House, John Boehner. But there are several fights that are occurring at the level of Florida among Republicans. What are some of those fights?
Well, these fights started really during the spring legislative session. I mean, it's been going on for 6 months now. The House and the Senate were kind of at war on health care, particularly during the legislative session. And the House shut down session, took a very extraordinary step, shutting down their session 3 days early, which, they're both dominated by, the House and the Senate are both dominated by Republicans. Then we had a special session in August, and they could not agree on a congressional redistricting plan. There's been a court hearing going on to try to, now it's basically in a judge's lap because the House and the Senate couldn't agree on this congressional redistricting plan. And so it's the courts are going to sort it out. And then we're going to have a special session later in October to do a Senate congressional redistricting map, which everybody thinks is going to be messier than the last special session. So there's, that's sort of what's gone on, some of the big picture. But there's, if you talk to lobbyists and talk to people who will speak freely about what's going on, they're saying they haven't heard some of the level of vitriolic comments between the House and the Senate Republicans in a long time. There's a lot of hurt feelings. A lot of it's personal. But then again, even within the Senate itself, there is a divide among Republicans in terms of who's going to be the next Senate president, which is going to be, we've got basically the Senate split in two, Senate Republicans split in two on that issue. So there's kinds of all sorts of divisions all over the Capitol at this point.
Both at the national level and at the state level, it sounds like there are different causes for friction. Philosophical, some, power driving a lot of it, personal power, position, leadership, and then just plain personal when people get at each other and they get very human and angry. A lot of that's being seen here in Florida, correct? Some of it has to do with what my seat's going to be in the Florida Senate or in Congress, and people get really political about that.
Well, I think it's important to keep in mind, a little perspective, the Republicans have such large majorities in the Florida House and the Senate that's not going to change anytime soon. I mean, it would take a miracle for the Democrats to take control. The Republicans also control the governor's office and all the cabinet seats. So, from a power structure standpoint, the party is in control. But there's all these fights within, underneath that. There's also fights within the Republican Party of Florida. Governor Scott's choice for chair last year got defeated by Blaise Ngolia, who's the new chair. He's a state representative. That's caused all kinds of friction. The Senate pulled a bunch of money out of the state party. Senate Republicans pulled a bunch of money out of the state party because they didn't want to be part of what it was. So, but I think a lot of what we're going to see, a real test is going to be this redistricting session on the Senate, which, as you alluded to, there's going to be a whole lot of people with personal stakes in that special session. Part of it is going to be that there's a lot of senators who want their districts to look good for when they run for re-election. There's also going to be some House members who are planning to run for the Senate. They may want to craft districts that suit them. But then there's also this fight within the Senate itself about the next Senate presidency, which is a fight between Jack Latvala and Joe Negron, both longtime Republican legislators. They've each got their own teams, and how the districts are drawn could help decide the fate of that contest. So there's, again, it's sort of, there's all these battles going on in different venues, if you will, or different issues. But I've also had a couple lobbyists tell me recently, well-placed lobbyists, that they don't think there's any chance that the legislature is actually going to get a budget done on time next year because of all this fighting. That things are so polluted between the House and the Senate that they're looking out even to next year, wondering if they're going to be able to get a budget done on time or whether they'll have to come back and hold a special session for it.
Same questions are being raised at the federal level about getting a federal budget done on time.